Okay, so let's take a look at how you can create a line chart in Seaborn. So first thing, we'll be installing Seaborn along with Jupyter Lab. Right, so make sure you have Python already installed so that you can run pip install commands. Right, now here let's type in Seaborn. Right, and once you run this, it should install Seaborn. Also make sure to have Jupyter Lab installed. Once you have these two things, you are good to go. Now you can use Jupyter Space Notebook, or you can use Jupyter Dash Lab. Right, so this opens the Jupyter Lab dashboard, and let me clear the previous code. Right, delete and then run. Now the thing is, first we have to use import numpy as np. Also we will be importing seaborn as sns. Next we will be needing some random data too, so use rng then np dot random state. We'll pass 0 to that, and then we try to do values for x and y. So x, we can see np dot array, and it should take your range from 0 to 200, sorry, 20 should do. Right, so let's go with that. Then with y, we will be using np dot square of x, right, plus rng dot uniform values for 0 to 100 increment 20, right? So we have like x and y values set up. Now we can create a data frame out of this, so use df, and within this curly bracket I can create single quote then colon x. Similarly, this single quote then colon y, and also within single quote I'll be adding y values. Now that we have our data setup, the thing we can do is creating our basic line chart or line plot. So we use sns dot line plot, right? Then pass x and y values to the same. Right, now if I run this, let's see what happens. Okay, now that we have this error, which means we will have to manually assign values for x set to x and then y set to y. Also we will have to mention about our data frame. Once we have all of this, we can good to go with our plot, right? So you will have to manually mention x and y and data frame, otherwise it will throw that error, right? So now that we seen the basic plot, we can also modify some of the things, right? Like say if we want to add a marker to the points where our data appears, so we will use marker value set to o, right? And if we run this, you will notice the marker at the point of data, right? We can also change the data color by using the color parameter. Here we can set the red and then run it. Notice the change in color for your lines as well as marker, right? Let's see if we can also use the alpha parameter so that line appears a bit transparent. So 0.5 we set the value and run this. Notice that there is a bit of transparency for our line as well. You need to use colors like red, blue, green or orange so that you can view the transparency. If you use black, then you may not able to see much of that. Instead it will appear a bit of gray and won't be much of visible there as well, right? So we have managed to create basic plot. We also changed its line color, added the marker there, right? And we can also change the line style, right? So let's see, we add line style and mention dashed, and if we run this, notice that the dashed lines now, right? There is also chance to change the line width. For that we will use line width equals to 3 or maybe 4, and if we run this, you will notice line width is now changed, right? So pretty much everything is set here with the line chart plot. We can also change few things, like we can set underscore title, but make sure to use dot set title because we want to concatenate this. So say line plot, and let's see if that works. Okay, so dot set title works and we got our line plot, right? So like this you can change few of the other parameters, but for that you will have to go through the seaborn documentation to also change the respective XY labels. You can add the ticks, set the margin, add the grids as well, right? Let's see if we can get back to our previous plot, right? Okay, so everything is pretty much working. You can play around with the data values of x and y, and that should be good enough for you to experiment with the line plot. Okay, now we can also change some of the style and palette parameters. So let's see, if I want to set some style for our plot's background, so in that case what we can do, we can use SNS dot and then set underscore style. So here we can experiment with some parameters, like say dark grid, right? There is also white grid as well, but we will start with dark grid. It should look something like this, right? Now we can also experiment with others, right? So we will try and remove this, then we will add tick option, and you run this, and it seems like tick is not acceptable. Ticks is there, so we will add that. Yes, and ticks look something like clean one. Not sure, it would require some other data for it to be visible. Then there is also white grid, so let's see how it looks. Okay, so white grid and dark grid looks good, and there is plain white as well, so return back to the normal, right? And apart from that, we can also change the color palette. So let's go with dark grid for a change, and then we can also change few more things within our line plot, which is SNS dot, let's say, set palette, right? And within this particular function we can offer something like, say, set to, right? Let's see how it looks. Okay, so set to doesn't seem to add much, so let's change this to, say, pastel, and let's see the result. So we don't have much pastel options. Let's go with some different palette, which is deep. So it seems like we don't get much with the dark grid around, so we'll return the style to white and see if it produces different result. So there doesn't seem to be different result or the same, right? So but you will have to experiment with the different types of plots for those results to be visible. In case of line, considering we have selected only one colored line and we also set the style, there isn't much option for you to try out, right? One more thing is checking the labels. So I tried the seaborn way to add legend to our plot. There seems to be none. So what I can do in that case is import matplotlib dot pyplot as plt. Right now here what I can do is I can use figure access then plt dot subplots, and then I can use say plt dot legend, right? And then I can pass on the labels, right? Sorry, labels. And for the labels what we can do is we can offer X label, Y label within our legend, right? And also I can add title as well, but first let's take a look at how this looks, right? So I'll have to do plt dot show as well, right? So let's have this. Notice that it created another plot over here, so I'll have to remove this, and let's see if it allows me to show the legend. So here you notice X and Y labels, but I will have to also pass the title, right? So title I can pass on with something like line plot, right? And let's try and draw this after our plot. And here you see our legend is available to the upper left with our line plot as title, X and Y also as labels. So you get the idea how to draw the line plot, also add markers, change its color, change its line style, also width. We also checked how to experiment with the grid styles and color palette, and finally we looked at how we can use matplotlib to add legend to our line plot created using seaborn.